Lesson 12.1, the fundamental counting principle. First of all, we have to understand independent events. And independent events mean that two events do not affect the outcome of either or each other. So if you have, for example, a deck of cards, you pull out a card, you put it back in, you pull out another card, the probability is not changing. Each event is independent. You flip a coin, one flip is independent of the other, and that's essentially what we're starting with. Now the counting principle tells us how many different ways things can happen. So for example, here we have a sandwich menu offers a choice of white, wheat, or rye bread. And then they choose one spread, which is butter, mustard, or mayonnaise. And they're wondering about how many different combinations of bread and spread there are. Well, the counting principle states that you take your decision making and put them into stages. So this would be stage 1. In stage 1, you have a choice of white, wheat, or rye. Stage 2, you have a choice of butter, mustard, or mayo. And the counting principle says, well, you have 3 choices for the first stage, 3 choices for the second stage, and to find out how many different sandwiches you can make or combinations, you would multiply them, and you would get 9. A different way of doing this is using a tree diagram where the first one again that we said was choosing between wheat or white, wheat, and rye. Then up here we have butter, mustard, and mayo on all 3 of these branches. And what you'd get is 9 things, like we just talked about, but what the tree diagram gives you is what they all are. So the advantage of the tree diagram is knowing what all the combinations are, and the benefit of the counting principle is it just tells you how many there are in a much quicker way. So yes, there's an advantage to the tree diagram, but right now we're just wondering about how many there are. Here we have a vacation. The Murray family is choosing a trip to the beach or the mountains, so there's their first decision to make. They can select their transportation from a car, plane, or train. How many different ways can they select a destination, followed by a means of transportation? So again, stage 1 is beach or mountain. Stage 2, car, plane, train. So counting principle says 2 choices for the first one, 3 choices for the second. How many different ways can they select a destination and the means of transportation? 6. Now let's take a look at some probabilities here. All right, this in terms of lotteries. Now we're not going to actually look at probability yet, but we're starting to, because we're going to decide how many different ways can something happen. Here's an example of a code. How many codes are possible if the code is just 2 digits long? Now when we say digits, we're talking about 0 to 9, which is 10 digits. So again, I look at each stage. The first stage, I have 10 different numbers I can use, 0 to 9. The second stage, if they're independent, and they are, we're saying that, you can have a number repeat. So 10 also for the second number. Counting principle multiplies the 2 together, and that tells us that there are 100 different ways to get 2 digits together. And that should make sense, because you're going to go from 0, 0 all the way up to 99. And that is 100 different results. How about 3 digits? Again, 3 different stages, 0 to 9, so 10 choices on the first one, 10 on the second, 10 on the third. Again, we multiply them together. So in this case, there are 1,000 different codes possible using 3 digits, 0 to 9, and the numbers can repeat. Now here we have again a more applied question, but we have a person who's going to take 6 different classes. Now here's where it's dependent, because you can't take the same class in more than once in one day. So if you look at this, there are 6 choices for her to choose from for first block, the first period. But since she chose a class during second block, she really only has 5 choices now. And then 4 for the next one, 3, 2, down to their last class. And the counting principle says that we would multiply all these numbers together. And notice that it starts at 6, goes all the way down to 1 without skipping any number, so it's the same as 6 factorial. And that product is 720 different class schedules that that person can make. And this ends lesson 12.1.